Hello, my Fossipaws. This is episode 3 of Critiquing My Customs. Today's victim of critiquing, Fang, my Chinese dragon custom, who, since me owning her, has actually been renamed. More on that later in the video. Alright, let's get into critiquing Fang. What do I have to say about Fang? Well, I've gone through a roller coaster of emotions with this custom. Some days I really love it, other days I think it's hideous. When I first made it, I thought it was amazing. Then over time, as I started to make more and more customs, I started to like it less and less until eventually I decided I hated it. And then I added a flower crown to it. I didn't take any pictures of that, but that made me like it a lot more, but still not enough to keep it. And as of making this video, I've given it away to one of my friends. I've said who I've given it away to on my community tab, but I kind of want to keep it on the down low until she makes her unboxing video about it, just to keep it a little bit of a surprise. On to the actual critiquing. As I just mentioned a few seconds ago, she is meant to be a Chinese dragon, because she is one of those customs that I made in my I'm gonna make a ton of different dragons phase. And much like Siren, dragon doesn't really come through in the design, unfortunately. Again, I know what she's supposed to be because I'm the one who made her. But from an outsider's perspective, she looks like a really weird cat with long whiskers. Funny thing, my friend's mom, who I sent it to, or to better word that, the mom of the friend who I sent it to, was the only one who could tell it was supposed to be a Chinese dragon, so props to her. And the only part of it that really says Chinese dragon at all is the long whiskers. And that is one of the critiques that I have. I used strips of sequin to replicate the sort of texture, I suppose, of the whiskers and the color that you typically see on Chinese dragons. But if I were to go and redo this now, I'd definitely use a different fabric other than sequins for her whiskers. And I would find a way to stiffen them up or sort of solidify or make that pose that they're in permanent to make them permanently curled at the end. The only reason they look curled like that is because I position them that way for the picture. But otherwise, they just flop around. So if I were to redo a Chinese dragon custom, I would probably try to find a way to make those whiskers permanently curled to look just better and more accurate. Because when they're not curled, they just look like two random strings hanging from her face. Another issue that I have with this custom is the sequins that I used for the belly scales. Sequins, especially with the dull scissors that I was using, are very difficult to cut precisely and make it actually look neat. And applying them without making them too stiff and trying to make them flexible is also very difficult. I was trying to use the sequins as belly scales, but again, hard to apply, hard to cut to the right shape, and they don't flip the right direction. They're meant to be flipping vertically because they're on her belly, but they flip horizontally, so that's not good. And I think that makes it way less satisfying if you were to actually go to flip her sequins. You'd expect to be flipping them up and down, and then you'd have to flip them right to left. So I definitely wish I would have applied the sequins better, and I didn't even, if I can remember correctly, again, I don't have her in person to go look at her right now, but if I remember correctly, I don't even think I fully glued down her sequins. I think you can sort of see from the side angle like a gap in between her and the sequins. Another issue I have with this one, again, is the quality or condition of the custom. She has a lot of eye scratches and her fur isn't the softest, which again, as I've mentioned previously and many times before, I just think that downgrades the overall look. This one isn't in as bad of condition as Siren, but still not ideal condition. And I used holographic or reflective pieces of sequin thingies. I'm sorry, that was a horrible way to describe them, but you know what I'm talking about. To be her little dragon tail and scales on the back of her ears. And that idea is all fine and dandy, but so I was using these little reflective pieces from my old Halloween costume where I was a dragon, and they were on my gloves. which, again, that idea is all fine and dandy, but they were only coming from gloves, so there wasn't much material to work with. There was only just barely enough to cover the ears and to make that little tail. If I were to go and do that now, I'd make sure that I have more of those squares because I think the tail just kind of looks pathetic, and I definitely could do better for an epic dragon tail. And I'd probably, rather than just having some at the end like a mermaid tail, I'd probably have some going along the top of it, sort of more like a dinosaur's tail. And I would have covered the ears more. It sort of gives me Minecraft vibes because it looks very pixelated or like two-dimensional, and that's just not the look I was going for. And even though I know that Chinese dragons don't have wings, I feel like I should have added something to her back to compensate for that empty space, because the front looks, I don't like it, but from a optimistic perspective, yeah, sure, the front looks fine, but then the back just looks empty with no detail at all, really. So I probably should have added a cape or like back spines or something to add to it. And I also wanted to add face whiskers, but I didn't have a way to make them stand up and be curly. Like, that's very difficult to achieve on Chinese dragons without it getting in the way of the face. So I just decided to cut those out of the design entirely. And the fact that she's rainbow, I guess, is fine. I don't think I've ever heard of a rainbow Chinese dragon. But hey, I'm working with what I got here. And the last and biggest complaint that I have that sets it over the edge for me isn't the poorly applied sequins, it's not the puny tail, it's that stupid fur I added in the ears. Those used to be the tips of gloves, like the thumbs of gloves. And at the time, I thought it was such a cool addition because I was like, well, even though she's supposed to be a dragon, I'm going to add fur because she's still a leopard, which at least not many typical Chinese dragons really have fur. So I think that kind of just tipped it over the edge on the scale of you can tell it's a dragon to not. Like, the fur is what makes you think more cat, and had I not added that, I probably would have liked it more because it would have, resembled more dragon features rather than cat features. So that was honestly the main thing that made me dislike it. I was just like, wow, that fur looks stupid in her ears. Why did I add that? I can't undo that now, dang it. And if it weren't for that, she'd be fine. I still think I probably wouldn't keep her, but she'd be better. And the thumbs weren't even big enough to cover the ears, so in my opinion, it just looks stupid. The friend I sent her to said she really likes her, so that's a win, I guess. At least she makes somebody happy. I just don't see it. So you're probably watching this, anonymous friend. I don't even know why I'm keeping you anonymous. Most people probably read the community post and already know who's getting my custom, but whatever. I'm glad that you like her, because I just, So that was the episode about Fang/Ms. Marine, if that's how you pronounce it. I have a few more episodes of critiquing my customs coming your way, so stay tuned if you're interested in the series. And I will see you in another video. Hey, hey!